Was there a fifth circle that you haven't talked about? Because you've...
Yes, that is the circle where we actually look at ourselves through a perhaps more of a lens than we normally do. So we find out more and more things to do for the patient without necessarily attending to what are we bringing into this.
Oh, right, okay.
So the great gift of COVID is that I've been able to run much longer programs to help with implementation, but also the feelings that come up when you're working with patients. And we start to find out things like, if we're going to work with patient regulation, how regulated are we? Are we coming screaming into the clinic at the last minute because we've had to, feed the cat and get the kids to school, and then we've got the news on and we've got all of this happening, and then we open the door and take our first patient? So are we actually regulated in ourselves? What are our expectations? And we're all in different places, but things that come up, a lot of people think, if something doesn't pan out as expected, that they've failed or they've made a poor choice. And sometimes it's just a case of, well, actually, it was a really good idea, but that person's nervous system needed a little bit of extra information to make that work. So we talk about this and say, well, have they come in highly activated? Do we need to bring them to a calmer, more receptive place? Is it that they have the muscle capacity, but the brain hasn't quite made a connection? Let's put some sensory input in there and then see what happens next. So we keep moving forward rather than getting caught up on, I had an expectation of an outcome from that exercise and it didn't work. I keep saying to therapists and clinicians, don't be so jolly attached to the outcome of the exercise, because whatever you see is just giving you more information for the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how are you going to change that? There's so much I can talk about, in terms of the feelings that we harbour, and it really contributes to things like burnout. I see so many clinicians who are, they're worn out, they're exhausted with having to know enough to keep up with everything, they're feeling overly responsible for their patient's process instead of actually letting the patient have their process.
Yeah.
How do I make the patient do this? I don't make a patient do anything. If I've actually given them the opportunity to sense what's been going on in their body, and I link it to what is functionally meaningful to them to give them an understanding of this, they have to make a choice. It's not my job to make that choice for them.
Yeah.
But if I've done my job reasonably well, most of them come on board.